Graven Hill is the UK's largest self-build experiment.
This is like a new life form that is growing uncontrollably. It's a town without planning.
Here, plots of land are sold by Cherwell District Council to aspiring self-builders.
What a huge space. Wow.
It's caught the imagination of local authorities across the UK. It's happening in Glasgow, where Natasha Huck, my co-presenter, and I are following an exciting scheme near the city centre, where people have been allowed to build their dreams.
Wow. It's a world of wood.
And now, the city of York is piloting its own ambitious project.
The brickwork is really well done. It excites me.
Though the journey of self-build is often fraught with stress and difficulty.
Well, wind's grabbed hold of it.
I have had to find an extra £10,000. They don't fit.
I'm rather cross. I'm boiling on the inside.
This week in York, we're following Jonathan, who's invented his own house building system, and he's experimenting with it on himself.
Is that one I put in?
Yeah.
What else can I screw up?
We're not inviting him again.
Jonathan used to work as an assistant to the world-famous artist Richard Wilson, who designed this sculpture, Slipstream, at Heathrow Airport in London.
It's an impressive piece of work, isn't it? You take in the sort of scale and the curves and, you know, the twist. There are millions of rivets. And the amount of sheets of material, aluminium and OSB.
OSB is oriented strand board or sterling board, and there are 400 sheets of it under the skin. It's a material Jonathan grew fascinated with. An everyday material that you notice all around you.
Its uses are all sorts, so like, you know, building hoardings or, you know, boarding up sort of abandoned buildings or shuttering. You know, it's used as a relatively cheap material that you can do whatever you want with.
Jonathan's invested his life savings inventing an experimental system which turns this stuff into structural blocks that you can build a house out of. On an industrial estate in Hull, he set up his own company to do it.
This is for your house?
Yeah.
Big boxes, basically.
Yeah, big structural boxes.
Made out of... There's no plywood there. It's all sterling board, isn't it? It's all rough rubbish.
Yeah, these are structural cassettes, so they've got the double skin of OSB.
And what is there in your background, in your life, then, that's led you here?
I've got a family history in manufacture, so it's a natural progression.
And your dad's an architect?
Yes, he is.
Built on these benches. These are all jigs. Are these different shapes you've produced?
These are the cassette parts.
Oh, in bays.
In the
Okay,
bays,
yeah, I'm with you. Yeah,
And
ready
you pull
to
them out,
together.
ready for assembly.
And then they're assembled here.
Yeah.
This one over here.
Yeah.
Single person lift.
Probably.
Can have a go. If you lift that end. Yes. Ah,
Yeah.
Yes, that is. That is. Do you know what? I could feel my back compressing lifting that. That's a two-person lift for somebody young.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And tell me, how many prototypes have you had to kind of work through?
We've been developing it over the years. We haven't gone three-storey before, and we haven't gone clear spanning to 7 meters before. So I've made it open plan on all 3 floors.
Nice.
Yeah.
And it's your home?
So I live in a quite small flat at the moment, so we're going from a 2-bedroom flat to a 3-storey kind of open plan building is going to be, you know, I'm not going to know what to do with it.
Jonathan's home is for him and his son. To construct it, first a giant steel ladder will be built to support a wall of glazing that will overlook the garden. Then the boxes will arrive on site, ready-made in the factory to be bolted together by hand to form the walls and floors of the house, which will span a remarkable 7 meters unsupported. Inside, Jonathan will make use of the free-spanning floors to make an almost entirely open-plan house. On the ground floor, a small utility room and bathroom will be surrounded by a large U-shaped living space to contain kitchen, dining and living areas with a double-height void. Upstairs, there'll be room at the front of the house for 2 bedrooms, or maybe 1 large storage space. Jonathan hasn't decided yet. There's also a toilet and a mezzanine floating over the living room. On the second floor, there'll be 1 large ensuite bedroom to span the rear of the house, with space for 2 further bedrooms at the front. The rooftop will house a solar panel array and 3 roof lights, and the exterior of this experimental home coated in white render at the rear, with a rusty armour of Core 10 steel around the front half. Jonathan bought the land for £86,000, and he's got 250 grand to build his house. He's doing it here, at the pioneering self-built street in Lowfield Green in York, just a few miles from the city centre. The first thing to be delivered on site is the steel ladder for the back window.
Big day, crane's just turned up. The steel's arriving in 5 bits, comes off the flatbed. Should I just move them blocks and put a bit of wood on there?
Each section is carefully lowered onto the slab.
Right, watch fingers and toes, boys.
And then methodically bolted to the next section with dozens of fixings to hold this heavy steel jigsaw together. The ladder is then lifted into position. The steelworkers start to fix in the supports for it. But the frame isn't level yet.
We took a level there, 1895. It was lower that side. It was higher that side by 7 mil.
But the steelworkers have already started to get the steel stanchions or braces fixed in.
We've got all day to put these stanchions in. Why are we racing ahead to get the stanchions? Yeah.
No, I didn't get them on.
Do you not want to get it level first?
You can't just leave it here, you've got to have those on.
Yes, fine, but once it's level.
Where do you want to be now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Carefully, Jonathan and his architectural designer, Caleb, make sure the steel is as plumb and true as the drawings.
That's perfect.
Perfect.
Leave it, get it screwed.
Don't get up at that.
I'm happy as well.
You happy with that?
Yeah.
3 hours later, it's up.
We've got the steel in, get all the levels right, get it fixed, so that's safe for the weekend. And then we're going to be back on Monday to start putting the cassettes in.
And on Monday, back in Hull, Jonathan's team are finishing off the last of the boxes for his house and adding them to the mountain already in here.
This is Jonathan's house.
All in?
Yeah. So obviously you can see palletised. The cassettes are also numbered, so we palletise as a...
Oh, so here's a little
little
picture
section there, yeah.
drawn by you.
Drawn by me.
And this shows you in colour where these bits go in the building.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I know when people do all this kind of stuff, they're meant to kind of stack the pallets and meant to load the pallets in reverse order. Mm-hmm. So like the first thing off the pallet is the first thing into the ground.
thing, yeah.
Is that really the case? Does that
That is
happen?
the case, yeah.
Does it ever go wrong?
There's been times.
So Jonathan's team meticulously load the pallets onto the truck in order. Then, an hour and a half later, when they unload,
Carefully, fingers.
they get muddled up, as they don't have precise places agreed to set down the boxes.
Right, so what was our plan?
All this stuff is still here.
Those we want. We don't want anything really high level.
These are here.
Let's get them.
We're doing this side first.
Yeah, we'll get.
Do you want to stick them
Yeah.
on about this? All right.
Was he talking about these or was he talking about these? Few sort of trial and error because of the way that we're delivering things. So like everything's coming off the flatbed and then we're having to sort of rearrange it, get it onto the slab, and that's just taking a little bit longer.
It will do. This is one giant experiment. The first time Jonathan's ever attempted something this big and this daring with his system.
So you might think to spend money on unproven ideas, on experimenting with the building is silly. But you see, no developer's ever going to do that, are they? No developer is going to experiment with their customers. They're waiting for the self-builders to come along. The people who will use their own cash and their own faith and belief in an unproven idea or an interesting new piece of design or a fantastic piece of new technology. Are they fools or are they heroes? That's easy for me. I vote for hero.
In York, Jonathan has built up to the first floor with his innovative building system, which uses insulated boxes made only from sterling board. Today he's making the floor, the most technically challenging part of it all. So, I've found an appropriately technical means to explain it.
So I know you're wondering how Jonathan's system really works. Think of these little pink wafers, delicious as they are, as Jonathan's building blocks, his wooden insulated cassettes. Now, to build a wall, you just put them one on top of the other and then plate them together. But to build a floor, well, that's much more complicated. And what he does is he takes a number of them and he joins them together. But he joins them together to make a beam using lots and lots of bolts and nuts. I'm going to use cocktail sticks to represent a bolt. There we are. And that one goes like that, and that's made a beam, and then this one joins on, and lo and behold, you can see how the thing joins together. There we are. And there you have a beam. But what's clever about his system is that it isn't just connected along the lengths of each beam, and then the beams just positioned next to each other. No, those beams are bolted together in the other direction too, so that each box ends up being fixed that way and that way and that way. And the result of that is a floor of immense strength. It doesn't wobble and it doesn't sag. It's just this perfect, rigid thing. As a result of all those fixings, look, it's a floor and it works. And you can walk across it and it's so strong, you can even dance across it. Look.
Amazing. And today, I'm going to help Jonathan make it for real.
Oh. Hey, Jonathan.
Hi.
Hey. I'm really interested to see the thing go up because
We'll have a go.
Good, good.
Spin it round, back it out.
Laid end to end, the boxes now need to be bolted together.
How do you get access to bolt them?
Hands in.
Just hands in.
Hands
Fiddle
in,
around.
Fiddle
So
around.
it's done blind, a little bit like changing the rolls in for a camera assistant.
We need packers, don't we, and podgers.
Yes.
Packers and what? Podgers?
Podgers, yeah.
That's a podger.
That is a podger, yeah.
I've seen steelworkers use these. I never knew what they were for. You can only guess.
I'll give you a clue. Podgers slip through the holes between boxes to perfectly align them. Then comes the tricky bit, bolting the boxes together.
Everybody's just waiting for me to do something catastrophically badly.
It is challenging beyond belief to try and thread a nut onto a bolt without being able to look at it.
I've worked on car engine bays, often with tiny nuts and tiny bolts that you can hardly hold, that then fall deep into the bowels of the car. You thought, I fucked this up, didn't you? But actually, I can do this.
Once threaded, the bolts just need ratcheting to tighten them.
Should we walk it back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then it's time to lift this giant beam into place.
How many of these have you built, these floor beams, then?
The floor, it's the first one.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like I'm making history with you then.
There's another 13 of these that have to go up to make up the first floor. It couldn't be more different to a conventional floor system, where joists or poured concrete take the load. Here, it's just the bolts and the box.
Good on the outside?
Yep, so a little bit more. Come on. Yep, that's good for me.
You're relying on the inherent strength of materials and the fixings as much between them in order to achieve this spread of load. So what happens when you put a grand piano on the first floor?
Grand piano, don't know, I'd have to check that.
So, I mean, this is great, but I just wonder at what point you've decided that it really does work. I mean, it's all well and good trusting the engineer's drawings, but you'll want proof, won't you?
Yeah, I think we're going to temporary prop it. The engineers are due a visit on site as well, so they can come have a look. And then when we start to take the props out, once we get this full first floor in, then we'll see.
So you won't know till then?
Over the next 2 weeks, more beams are made, trained next to one another, and then propped with temporary supports. Before long, they're up to the second floor, using Jonathan's box system to build the walls up to the roof.
This is so it's got to be that way round?
Yeah.
For this, he's invented his own peg system from scratch.
So that's your peg, but most importantly, that notch is not at right angles. It's slightly open. So rather like a traditional oak peg, the more you tap it in, the tighter it locks the joint together.
Yeah.
I love this because this kind of de-skills the on-site work.
And then we put the nail plates over.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. The peg is doing all the work here, isn't it?
Yeah.
These plates further strengthen the walls, pulling the boxes together. It's a laborious task.
On average, each junction is held together with 2 to 3 pegs, stapled, wooden ones, and 5 plates. Each plate takes 10 screws. So each junction is 50 screws. There's plated both sides, isn't it? Yeah. That's 100 screws for every joint. They've got to figure out a faster system.
It's harder than it looks. The screws are quite fat and wobble around when you put them in. That's my excuse anyway.
Really messed that one up.
Thanks.
Yep, stand up.
Jonathan's system is taxing, no question. It demands real commitment to build with. That's written all over his workforce. Literally.
I have got a little block tattoo here.
That's just a word.
Just the word block.
Block, yeah. Are you completely covered?
Covered, yeah.
Everywhere?
Most places.
Not everywhere.
Well, I don't, yeah.
No, that's good. Good, no. Good.
A lot of them are done myself.
You're joking?
No, no.
Well, you sit there. What do you do? Bite on a leather strap and...
Yeah, bite a wooden spoon and just kind of...
Oh, I didn't realise it was that autobiographical.
On my legs.
In the heat of the midday sun, the process of putting this box building up is arduous, physically and mentally. You've got to work out which way the boxes should go.
We're on upside down there, so we need to...
Do we? Do we now? We do. We're upside down.
Then drill thousands of screws every hour. Until, finally, the walls are up.
Chiselling that panel, that's not good.
No, that's in the wrong way around.
Is that one I put in?
It is in around that area, yeah.
I can't quite believe.
We're not inviting him again. That's.
I'm not convinced. I think someone else put that box in. Minor slip-ups aside, at every turn, Jonathan's trying to improve the efficiency of his system. He's found it quicker to bolt the boxes together in the air rather than on the ground, as access is easier. He's thinking ahead wherever he can.
I'm just prepping the bolts for the roof. Put the nuts on and then they're ready. It makes it sort of easier.
This is a house that tests the limits of the materials it's made from and the problem-solving skills of those building with it. To carry on making the roof, the team need to lift in a critical steel support beam. But the crane they booked to do it hasn't turned up. So Jonathan commandeers a passing telehandler.
He's just up and down, you know. We asked him if he minded helping, and it was a 10-minute lift, so it's quite good. Really, really lucky.
That's one way of looking at it.
Oh, so they're extending the telehandler to the sort of maximum it can go in order to take that piece of steel over the top of the scaffolding. The telehandler's complaining, as you can hear. And the most exciting thing is that there's no strap or rope tying the piece of steel to the telehandler. I find that slightly inexplicable.
In York, Jonathan's crane got delayed, so he had to improvise a solution to lift a heavy steel beam onto the roof by commandeering a passing telehandler.
He was at the extent of his reach. We got it up, and then we've sort of, you know, pulled it along, so it's worked.
Well, that's a relief. Jonathan's worked with a team of world-class engineers to develop his system. Today, one's come to site. He's only modelled it on computer, so this is the first time he's seen it.
It's bloody cool. Nothing quite beats seeing it in the physical, even when you have been looking at it digitally. It's kind of weird, it looks like the model. For this house, we are trying to use OSB. What we're trying to say is you can build homes out of it and you can actually achieve some pretty monumental spans that you normally would only be doing with steel and traditional deep floors out of joists or, you know, metal deck.
This is radical cutting-edge engineering. So is Jonathan's arrangement of spaces inside.
Proper open plan, isn't it?
Well, this space feels really good as open plan.
Your walls in, mate. Ideally, you don't want everyone looking in at you while you're on the toilet, do you?
Soon, all Badir and Jonathan's hard work will be tested.
I'm looking forward to seeing it once all the props go.
2 months later, that moment comes to take out the props.
So when do these come out?
These can come out today. Yeah.
I can take this one out?
Yeah, have a go.
Yeah. You seem very sanguine about it.
I have trust in it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you wake up at night then?
Obviously, this is the first time we've done a two-way spanning floor and roof beam system.
I mean, there's always that thing, isn't it, when you're using repeated components to making sure that they are all in.
Yeah.
And all tightened.
Yeah.
And that because it's so easy to put them in, put in a load, finger tighten them, and then move on.
We did check this 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
So you see, like, where the marks are on the roof. That was the kind of 3rd check. As we did it, we were marking it with a marker pen to say that that had gone impact, ratchet, tight, sort of thing.
Right.
So...
That's good.
Yeah.
When you do that, of course, rather than there being a weak link, it's more that every joint aggregates all the others. It becomes a stronger thing as you go on. And how much spring is there in the floor when these are out?
I think there's
Is it noticeable?
We haven't tried it.
Oh, well. we'll find out.
Yeah. So if we went upstairs and had a jump around.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
OK. So, what's it like? You jump. How much do you weigh?
Enough.
It's interesting, when we both bounce, we kill each other's bounces like being on a trampoline. But there is a bit of a little bit of a spring.
Yeah.
There's a bit of... But I find that quite reassuring with timber, that there's a, you know, like being on the bough of a tree, you know.
Bit of movement.
And the floor gets even more rigid as the roof goes on, pulling the house together as one taut box. Jonathan, meanwhile, has some exciting news. A local school has commissioned him to build a classroom using his wooden box system.
Need to go in a bit more. We got a lot of interest, and I think we're finding our kind of place and where we fit. So we're not a big house builder. We can't compete with large volume, but really specialist kind of things. It seems to be, naturally heading towards.
Looks like it. Building this shape with boxes has to be rather difficult.
First 2 days were tricky and we were scratching our heads as to how to set it all out because obviously we're on that curve, but good progress on that and we're hoping to be finished and sort of totally sealed by Friday.
End of the week then you'll be done?
Yeah.
Although Jonathan is now away working most days, there are jobs on site that he simply doesn't want to miss, like the installation of his gargantuan windows.
2, 3.
Yeah, it's a big part of the budget. And, the big feature windows at the back and along the stairs, they're kind of, the big bits of glass.
Go for it.
So, yeah, high cost.
Thing is with glass, if you catch it on a bit of metal or the scaffolding, it can cause it to explode because it's tougher than glass. So we do have to be careful.
Keep going. Hold it there.
They need to take extra care. They've already had one accident in the morning.
Unfortunately, we had a couple of breakages. They were just loading it up at the workshop and it nicked on the corner of the van and they just went. So that's been ordered straight away. There'll be about £600 to replace, which, is a lot of money, but we will have to just go with that.
Down.
Down. Easy peasy.
Happily, there are no more breakages. In Jonathan's absence, the render has gone on. It's a relief to see it.
The dream I had while I was on holiday was that the render hadn't set, so it's all really sort of like soft. It was a little bit like apple crumble, but I think it was just a nightmare. A bit of anxiety that I wasn't here while it was happening, seeing the kind of process.
Worry is a price you have to pay when you take on a big building experiment like this. Jonathan can take comfort knowing that his house is actually part of a larger experiment here, where social, affordable and open market housing all mix together.
The thing is, you can't tell who lives where. On most housing schemes, what developers try and do is lump the social housing in one corner, in a sort of ghetto, or preferably even off-site, somewhere else entirely, in order to preserve the values of the open market housing. But here, no, this is a blind tenure scheme. This is progressive. This is the future. Mixing people of all tenure types, from social housing tenants right through to homeowners. And now, of course, just there, some self-builders too. Goodness me, how progressive. And you know, I cannot tell, truly, who lives where. And I bet you can't either.
It's called blind tenure, and the inspiration for it comes partly from a nearby model community, New Earswick, built in 1904 by Joseph Rowntree. A local councillor, Michael Jones, saw how it had worked here and took the idea to the new development at Lowfield Green.
The residents who moved into here, some of them were from the chocolate factory, some of them weren't. So you would have, doctors living next door to chocolate makers, next to packers, next to wires.
And so there was a big social welfare spirit here. There was a kind of driver here. It wasn't just about providing decent accommodation for people of the city. It was wider.
At the moment, we live in one of the most age and income segregated countries in Europe, and what he did was he created a community for all. Standing here, it feels very different. It feels like a very relaxing, pleasant place to be, and I think we're trying to create that at Lowfield through investment in good quality outside space, you know, good benches, good play equipment, generous green spaces, places to play.
In the spirit of Roundtree, Jonathan's playful project is now being clad in Core 10 steel, designed to rust. A suitably entertaining material for an innovative building.
It stands quite proud, you know. I was walking down that terrace there and it's good.
I really like it in this stage where it's at, because it's kind of rusting unevenly. You see the drip patterns, and it's a process, so it's kind of going off, and you see that happening over time, and it'll change. So
like watching timber slowly silver, or you know, oak slowly grey, or you know, or brick actually take on a patina. Yeah, a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to make buildings look timeless, as though fixed in a moment. This is the opposite. This is an experimental building.
Yeah.
This is your trial. You can play with this.
Yeah.
Systems and experiments aside, though, ultimately this will be Jonathan's home for him and his son to inhabit and enjoy.
Are you able to put away the Jonathan, inventor, entrepreneur and builder, and imagine yourself as Jonathan living here?
Not yet. Maybe once all of this is covered up, as soon as the boarding goes on, you kind of start to feel how the rooms are going to look, you know, rather than it being carcassing and look like a building site.
Yeah. I like that staircase. It looks good in the Sterling board.
The method we've CNC'd it, it's the same principle as the cassettes.
Is this a kind of prototype?
Prototype, yeah.
I just think they're actually quite beautiful.
However, Jonathan has chosen to banish these system-built stairs from the inside of the house and replace them with something else.
I think we're going to go with 2 steel stringers and timber treads.
Okay. Oh, really? Not this? Is it a bit too bouncy?
It is bouncy. It wouldn't be bouncy with a back on it.
I know the building is a bit of it's a showcase for you, obviously, for the system. It's pushing the possibilities of the system. And therefore, I guess, occasionally there's a client who may want to come and look at it. So you're going to do, as 2 architects on you once did with their straw bale house, you're going to build a little honesty panel.
What's see-through?
Well, yeah, because, I mean, from the outside, all you see is glass, render, Core 10. You know, what you don't see is the system.
Yeah. Probably not. I see enough of it, so it'd be good to get it kind of closed up.
Completely covered up.
Yeah.
Okay. I can now begin to see why you might not be interested in a Sterling board staircase.
Yeah.
It just reminds you of your job.
Yeah.
But he's not replacing them with just any old stairs. For this lover of the experimental, only the most extraordinary will do. In a factory just outside Hull, he's commissioned a high-tech laser-cut staircase with the treads cut by robot.
It's the future of engineering, I believe. Dynacell robotic press. It's designed for large quantities of batch work. Basically, you can run things through the night, return the next day, and it's all ready for you to ship out.
Efficient, but the machines haven't completely taken over yet. Only a certain number of treads can be cut by computer before they're welded by human. Jonathan and his son, meanwhile, are itching to move in.
Are these doors openable?
They are openable, but there will be a screen in front of here, so you can't open them and fall out.
Good. I'm really excited. I cannot wait till it's done so I can run around it and have fun in it.
They are tantalizingly close to finishing when the main contractor working on the main site moves on to landscaping the street, the area around the houses.
Access to the building is pretty tricky at the moment, which is a bit of an issue for us sort of completing in terms of, you know, getting the lorries there for the pumped in screed. It's close to 5 or 6 weeks while that work goes on.
That's a long time to be held back from working.
building your own home is always going to be painful. It is always going to be an emotional journey. But building it at the mercy of somebody else, goodness me, that's when you enter another world of pain.
In York, there is a new shape on the street.
Amidst all the pointy roofs of the street, that is the one proper block-like building. Very appropriate given the build method.
Boxes and bolts have created this. Extraordinary. Jonathan's pushed his system to the limit, building higher and with wider spans than he's ever done before. I'm intrigued to see if he's showing that off inside. But I'm not meeting him today. Jonathan's unfortunately been taken to hospital. So I'm talking to the man responsible for designing it, Caleb.
Hey.
Hey.
How are you?
How's it going?
Yeah, who's this?
This is Cowboy.
Hello, Cowboy. And Jonathan, how is he?
Well, sadly, he's had to go for a little operation today, but...
Oh, man. Wow. Oh, what a shame. I wish him well.
I will.
You know, hope he makes a speedy recovery. It's looking really sharp.
It is, yeah. And I think, I mean, the contrast between the Corten and the render kind of...
Is good.
Is good, yeah.
Made better by the capping detail, which joins them both together.
The amp, yes. Yeah.
Runs around like a ribbon. I love that. It's good. I mean, it'll look like a big rusty block, won't it?
It will do, yeah. Yeah.
Like
That's
a giant... Yeah, as though carved from steel.
And with a blue door.
I say it will look like a big rusty block because at the moment the front isn't finished. It is yet to be clad in the weathering steel.
Installing the actual Corten was quite an experimental role. And we've been kind of sending pieces back to the factory to be cut again. And
really?
Bringing them back, measuring up, yeah.
Oh, OK.
And then I guess we kind of just put a bit more focus onto the internals.
So, what sort of home has Jonathan's mechanical, highly technical system yielded inside?
Oh, that's magnificent.
A highly unusual one, the likes of which I've not seen before. It is yet to be fully finished, but the spaces are wonderful.
Do you know, it's a bit like coming into a commercial building.
It is, yeah. It's open.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's big openings, big windows, big door, big floor plate.
Jonathan has spanned a remarkable 7 meters, unsupported, by joining his boxes together. It's created somewhere that feels more art gallery than home. An art gallery revving up for the start of an exhibition.
Well, it's not far off. You've even put some furniture in here, Caleb.
Just a little bit, just
for scale.
Just for scale, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously very, very minimal at the moment.
Yeah. The stairs look terrific. Again, quite commercial.
Yeah.
You know, because of the steel frame.
Even the colouring, I think.
Yeah, and the colouring too. I like that very much.
And this is quite funny to see, actually, because this is a colour that me and Jonathan saw in Bristol on a building.
Yeah.
And he mentioned it, and then the next one
is... Yeah. Here it is.
And I think this is when the colours kind of come into their own.
For sure. And in terms of the kind of emotional response, I mean, walking in now, standing here, how do you feel? I mean, how's it, you know, is it doing the right thing?
I mean, for me, yeah, I don't know, it's calming. It's calming to me.
That's nice.
You know, just like I said, the light.
Yeah.
And I know we're not fully there yet in terms of finishes, but there's something quite peaceful about it.
The almost monastic experience of standing in these great spaces removes any sense that you might be in an experimental build system. That's not to say, though, that the experimentation hasn't continued in other ways. On the first floor.
So this space up here on the mezzanine, this is exciting, there's no doubt, because any building that has a sort of broken section, in other words, where one floor kind of fluidly meets another through an open void like this, well, that's always going to be adventurous and unusual. And of course, it's a usable space. It's a room. But in a way, I think the really exciting aspect of this floor is this space here. There's the staircase. And this is much, much wider than your average landing or hallway. There's space here to stick a piece of furniture against the wall or over there. And what Caleb and Jonathan have realised between them is that by making these rooms a little bit smaller, pushing these walls back, this space no longer feels like a cramped circulation space, like a thread connecting the staircases, but instead feels fluidly at one with this area here. It's part of the wider room. I think that's really, really clever.
I do admire Jonathan and Caleb's boldness in trying out new things, wherever they can.
This is nice. See, I just like the way, as you come up the building, it gets light. It's light at the bottom.
Lighter.
But it gets lighter and lighter and lighter.
Yeah.
It's not enough just to build an experimental floor system with boxes. They've also covered it in concrete.
Do you know what? I've just realised. What's the depth of this?
This is only shallow, I believe. This is maybe 40 mil.
40 millimetres?
Yeah.
Not over underfloor, though.
No.
But it's 40 millimetres on top of your system,
Yeah.
the beams, adding more weight.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's a good ton, I guess, 40, roughly.
Yeah.
Probably across this floor. That's pushing it, isn't it? Tempting fate.
Might put a gym up here as well and see how.
Oh, of course. Why not just put a few great lumps of iron attached to metal bars, yeah, and then thump around on the floor just to see what happens.
Good to test with a few bits of furniture first. Jonathan's planning to have a sitting room up here to soak up the best views through that giant window.
Stare at that all day.
Love it.
It's a definite no TV needed. I was passionate about being led towards these openings.
Not just in the main space, but the rooms off as well.
So what, is this a bedroom floor? Is that...
This is the bedroom floor, yeah.
That's a nice bedroom.
It's a lovely bedroom, yeah.
And to wake up in the morning and have a lit view, but without sunlight coming in, that's nice. It's not the most private.
No, absolutely not.
You could almost apply a frosting to the lower,
yeah.
Because you get those films, you know, just to give you the privacy and still have the view out over the trees
option,
and the park. Generous spaces, Caleb, you know.
Yeah, I'm really proud about this one now, seeing it.
Yeah, because it's not just well built, it's also well designed and well made and finished. You know, the great pleasure coming here today is that for so long, this sort of architectural ambition of this building was second fiddle to its kind of kit process. And we were all excited about, you know, how it was put together rather than what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And now it is kind of rather special.
It's quite overwhelming now to see it as an actual house and not just a...
As its designer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot of effort put into the design of it. I know it's simple, but there was a lot of thought. You know, Jonathan was quite through with what he wanted, which made it a little bit easier to work with, but you know, I feel like we have achieved that, you know, what we set out to get.
Caleb and Jonathan have done a remarkable job. Crafting drama, delight and soothing space out of one humble material, oriented strand board.
I am very aware that any good piece of architecture should be well versed in the art of deceit. And I say that because any good building ought to look as though it isn't tied down to the ground to 300 tons of concrete with a load of steel hidden in the walls. It should appear instead to want to float away. That any good building should be defying the laws of nature. It should be saying, I'm here forever, I can defy time and the effects of the elements. It should also be defying the rules of chaos and order by offering somehow a seamless, effortless experience of fluidity and joy. Oh, and there's a fourth rule here, and that is any good building, I think, ought to not tell you that it's made out of kit, system blocks. But you see, This doesn't say that at all, does it? I mean, I can't see a single bit of the building that looks compromised that tells you in a clunky way that somehow Jonathan's system has been at work here. No, his building, in the service of good architecture, seems absolutely effortless. And that system seems to have completely disappeared.